A sandstorm rises without warning across a desert that stretches beyond sight, lifting entire curtains of earth into a copper sky that swallows the horizon. Moments later, the wind vanishes, revealing endless grasslands where thousands of horses run freely across distances so large that the land itself seems to breathe slowly. Far to the west, jagged mountains break through cold clouds, their snow-covered peaks cutting the sky like ancient blades left standing after forgotten wars. Across the plains, thunder rolls over silent valleys where rivers carve silver paths through grass that bends endlessly beneath restless continental winds. Then suddenly the ground changes again, shifting from living steppe into bare stone deserts where dunes climb like frozen waves across empty distances. In winter, these same landscapes freeze under violent storms, when temperatures fall so low that even breath becomes a fragile cloud of ice. Yet in summer, sunlight burns across open plains so wide that shadows disappear beneath blazing skies that stretch unbroken for hundreds of kilometers. Between these extremes lives a land shaped by movement, where wind, dust, animals, and weather constantly redraw the boundaries of the earth. It is a place where the horizon always feels farther away than expected, and distance becomes a force shaping every decision made here. For travelers arriving from crowded cities, the silence feels overwhelming because there are few fences, few roads, and almost no permanent borders. Here, movement defines survival. Whether it is migrating gazelles crossing grasslands or nomadic families guiding herds toward distant seasonal pastures. The wind carries dust across entire regions in a single day, erasing tracks and reminding everyone that permanence is an illusion here. At night, the sky expands beyond imagination, revealing stars so sharp and numerous that the darkness feels almost oceanic in scale. Ancient caravan routes once crossed these plains, linking civilizations through paths carved not by roads, but by memory and endurance. For thousands of years, riders followed those invisible routes, guided only by rivers, mountains, and constellations turning above the open earth. This immense landscape lies at the center of Asia, locked between powerful neighbors, yet defined more by emptiness than by borders. Mountains guard the west, forests edge the north, and deserts claim the south with dunes that move like slow living creatures. Between them stretches one of the largest remaining grassland ecosystems on Earth, a living ocean of wind and motion. It is here, in this immense collision of desert, steppe, and mountain wilderness, that the nation of Mongolia rises quietly into view. A country where scale dominates everything, and where the land itself remains the most powerful presence in every story told. Morning begins quietly across the Mongolian steppe as sunlight spills across dew-covered grass that ripples gently beneath a steady inland wind. Thousands of horses graze across the plains, their dark shapes drifting slowly through golden fields that stretch endlessly beneath the pale sky. Far away, a herd of gazelles suddenly erupts into motion, racing together like a living river flowing across open grasslands without barriers. Above them, golden eagles circle silently, using rising columns of warm air to glide effortlessly across the immense sky. The land seems calm until the wind strengthens, sending waves of grass rolling across the plains like invisible tides sweeping the earth. In the distant south, the Gobi Desert begins, where dunes move slowly each year, reshaped by storms that push sand across entire valleys. Dust devils twist upward from sun-baked ground, spinning briefly into the sky before collapsing again into drifting sand. Then clouds gather along the Altai Mountains, where cold air collides with heat rising from the plains below. Thunderstorms explode suddenly across the horizon, releasing violent rain that transforms dry gullies into temporary rushing rivers. Lightning flashes across the sky, while winds flatten grasslands beneath enormous storm systems rolling east across the continent. Within minutes, the storm passes, leaving the land silent except for distant thunder fading across the empty distance. Sunlight returns slowly, illuminating valleys where streams continue flowing quietly through fields of wildflowers and stone. In the mountains, glaciers melt into rivers that travel hundreds of kilometers before vanishing into deserts or distant lakes. Along those rivers, forests appear suddenly, narrow corridors of green sheltering wolves, deer, and migrating birds. The seasons reshape everything here, turning green grasslands into golden plains and then into frozen white silence. During winter, fierce blizzards sweep across the steppe with winds that can bury entire herds beneath drifting snow. These brutal winters, known as dzuds, test both wildlife and herders as animals struggle to find grass beneath frozen ground. Yet when spring arrives, the land transforms again, releasing fresh grass that spreads rapidly across the plains. Wildlife returns with it, filling the steppe with movement, hooves, wings, and the constant rhythm of migration. Here in Mongolia, the land never truly rests because wind, animals, and seasons are always rewriting the same vast landscape. Humans arrived on these plains thousands of years ago, learning quickly that survival here depends on movement rather than permanence. Instead of building cities, they built mobility, living in circular felt homes called gers that could be assembled or removed within hours. These portable homes allowed families to follow grazing animals across immense distances without being trapped by seasonal change. Horses became essential companions, allowing riders to travel across terrain that would otherwise take days to cross on foot. For centuries, nomadic herders mastered the rhythm of migration, moving livestock between seasonal pastures across the open land. Sheep, goats, camels, horses, and yaks formed the foundation of life in a country where agriculture rarely survives harsh climates. But Mongolia is also the birthplace of one of history's most powerful empires, forged by a leader known as Genghis Khan. From these grasslands, his riders once swept across continents with astonishing speed, reshaping political boundaries across Asia and Europe. Their power came not from cities or castles, but from mastery of mobility across the endless steppe. Today, the capital city of Ulaanbaatar rises along the Toul River, where modern buildings stand beside traditional neighborhoods of gers. Yet even here, the pull of the countryside remains strong, as many families still return to the steppe each summer. Beyond the capital, the land quickly empties again, leaving only scattered settlements separated by vast distances. Roads often fade into dirt tracks across open plains, where GPS signals matter more than physical maps. Nomadic families still guide herds through these regions, adapting ancient traditions to modern challenges. but the environment remains unforgiving, especially during Dzud winters when extreme cold can kill millions of animals. Entire livelihoods can disappear during a single brutal season when snow and ice bury grazing land. Despite these dangers, many herders refuse to abandon their nomadic identity, tied deeply to the steppe. Across Mongolia, resilience remains a defining trait, shaped by centuries of living beside unpredictable nature. Even modern cities understand that survival here still depends on respecting the rhythms of the land. Because in Mongolia, every human story ultimately unfolds beneath the vast authority of the steppe. In the far western Altai Mountains, glaciers cling to jagged peaks, where temperatures remain brutally cold even during summer months. Here, Kazakh eagle hunters ride across rocky valleys, carrying golden eagles trained to hunt foxes across snowy landscapes. These partnerships between human and predator represent traditions surviving in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Far below those mountains, the steppe stretches again toward horizons where storms form without warning. Lightning storms strike open plains with terrifying intensity because nothing stands tall enough to break the electric sky. In the Gobi Desert, night temperatures plunge suddenly after sunset, turning scorching heat into freezing darkness within hours. Yet life persists even here as wild camels wander across gravel plains, searching patiently for rare desert water. Snow leopards move silently through mountain shadows, where cliffs and glaciers form a maze of isolated territories. Few humans ever see them, yet their presence reminds the region that wilderness still dominates these remote landscapes. Winter blizzards return each year with crushing force, burying valleys in snow while winds scream across empty grasslands. During these storms, entire regions can disappear behind white walls of snow and drifting ice. Yet, when spring returns, the land renews itself again, releasing green grass across plains that seemed lifeless months earlier. Wild horses, known as taki, roam these restored grasslands after being reintroduced to the wild following near extinction. Their return represents hope that even fragile ecosystems can recover when given space and time. But Mongolia's greatest force remains its scale, because distance itself becomes a powerful environmental presence. Across millions of hectares, the land remains largely untouched, one of the last great wilderness regions on Earth. Here, the wind still carries dust across continents, animals still migrate across open grasslands, and storms still arrive without warning. Humans continue adapting as they always have, living within limits defined by the land, rather than trying to conquer it. Because the steppe does not promise comfort, and it never guarantees safety. Mongolia is not simply a country on a map, but a vast living landscape that reminds humanity how small we truly are.